the American Roadrunner Podcast.
Yep, glad y'all could join us here today on this, the American Roadrunner Podcast. Here we share stories from the road on our two-wheeled motorcycles and all the good, bad, and ugly stories that come with the open road. I'm your host, Bob Marshall, fellow wrencher, rider, racer, and author of the book American Roadrunner.
And I'm your co-host, Brian. You can find us online at AmericanRoadrunnerthebook.com. This podcast is coming to you from AmericanRoadrunnerPodcast.com. You can find the book American Roadrunner by Bob Marshall. Now that's American Road Runner. Facebook at American Roadrunner the book. That's 2 words, Roadrunner. On Instagram, American Roadrunner. That's all 1 word. And our email is AmericanRoadrunnerthebook@gmail.com.
That's a lot of American Roadrunners you threw at us.
Yeah.
Again, we appreciate it. Today, on this episode, we're pretty excited to bring you a guest. One Mr. Jake with the Flying Dutchman Company. He is a builder, fabricator, instructor, craftsman, and artist of all good things metal. Today, our topic's going to simply be based around how to make it yourself and all the cool things that Jake does. We do have a Patreon account, and don't be afraid to check it out. We are brought to you today by also Ride 1K in a Day, which is a wonderful organization that challenges you to ride 1,000 miles in a day.
Yeah, 1K in a day. Now, Bob, how long does it take you to ride 1K in a day? I mean, some people might think that it takes you more than a day to ride 1K, but like seriously, how long does it take for you to drive a motorcycle 1,000 miles?
Well, I like to refer to it as piloting a motorcycle. That way, if you got someone on the back, they're the piloteer. Now, this is a great argument that I shifted gears on that some people have, but the answer is pilot and piloteer. Go figure.
Navigator.
When you pilot, yeah, you're the navigator. I guess for some people, their GPS units are the navigators, but
I just thought as far as terms, like you got the pilot and the navigator. It's just one of those things. But piloteer, what does that even mean? What does it come from?
It means when I jump on the back of a woman's motorcycle, I am not the bitch. I am the piloteer. That's all it means.
Okay.
That's a good way to say it.
So all men and women everywhere join me in the movement known as pilot and piloteer.
All
It
right.
may not catch on. We never know. But it just may not be cool enough. Anytime I'm a big fan of what Curtis Morgan does with Ride 1K in a Day. He's the gentleman who puts on, you can find him on Instagram or Facebook, and it's just a self-challenge for you to ride 1,000 miles on your motorcycle in a day. He's getting it set up where it's pretty easy. You just take pictures of your receipts to prove that you're moving and going, your fuel receipts, and he's actually got some exciting news soon. He's going to have like an app coming out, so you can do it all via app.
That'd be fun.
So I'm pretty excited for this podcast to be in cohorts with one Mr. Curtis Morgan and Ride 1K in a Day. Personally, yeah, I've done it a lot. I even rode his challenge once with my dad as piloteer. Of course, my dad was sitting in the saddlebag, ashed up in a box, but they were kind enough to give all the certificates and patches and everything to my pops, so that worked out really well. I think the answer to your question is it just depends on the roads that you're on. A lot of people tend to not relax as much as they could when they're riding on a motorcycle. Here in the Southwest, the interstates are pretty open. It's real easy to jump on an interstate and get from A to B pretty fast. You're stopping every 120, 150 miles, depending on your motorcycle, to refuel. I always enjoy the 8-minute stops. That's just my personal time stopped. How fast can I stop? I usually pull up, put gas in the darn thing, then I push it over to a parking spot, and that way I can go inside, get some coffee, use the restroom, add oil, whatever bike I'm riding on. It depends. I know when I did the Ride 1K in a Day, of course, I did it on my pop scoot. And I started here in Riverside at like 6 or 7 a.m. And I should have started earlier at 4 a.m. And I went up to Colorado. I just hit up the 15 and made a ride at the 70. And I ended up actually down in Colorado Springs, which was kind of a cool place where my Pops and I talked about visiting. It's the site that Tesla had his laboratory on there in Colorado Springs, right under Pikes Peak. Yeah, it was cool to be there, and it ended up being somewhere around 1,100 miles, but regardless, I think I did it in 16 or 17 hours, 16:45 or 17, I don't know, somewhere around there. It's not that the numbers aren't important, I just forget them. So, and most of my motorcycles don't have speedometers and stuff on them, so I really don't know what the mileage is. I just kind of guess as I go. But here in the southwest of our wonderful American United States, we're pretty lucky to have a lot of open highways, because if you're stuck up somewhere in Minnesota, there's a lot of small towns. Minnesota. Yeah, it's real hard to get from A to B without hitting a small town every 30 miles. But
You don't have a speedometer?
No.
I don't.
Yeah.
So
I
what
don't
do you
even have
do?
a tack on mine.
Do you count like telephone poles? As you drive by, you count the seconds between them, and you just kind of gauge it. I'm going 30 knots.
Count looks from the officers.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. No, yeah, it's pretty easy. I mean, we've all spent our whole lives doing the speed limit. There's always surrounding traffic. Mostly I'm interested in how the bike's doing, how the engine feels, how the road feels on the bike. So the speedometer is kind of second nature, but I always do my best to keep it under the speed limit.
Okay.
That may be. I should put that in quotations.
Fair
keep
enough.
it around the speed limit. I go into great description about it in my book, how I do all this, just in case. The book may be a bit more of a how-to guide than more of anything, but the book was real exciting to write. It was nice to give away all my secrets in that which was the chopper race known as the Stampede. So,
And that book again is American Roadrunner by Bob Marshall.
yeah, got it on Amazon.
It is out now.
We're excited, actually. By the time this book comes out, it'll be pretty exciting, because it'll be probably a week or so before we actually do the paperback book launch. I made sure just to print it in paperback. I didn't want some big expensive hardcover. I wanted something that's nice and small. It kind of looks like an old Western.
So you're doing an actual book launch.
Oh, yeah.
Like
yeah.
where are you going to be signing
Oh.
books?
Yeah, we're going to be doing that the first Thursday of February over at Back to the Grind Coffee House on University.
In Riverside, California.
Here in Riverside, California.
Yeah.
We're pretty excited. I think
that's going to be during Arts Walk. So, come
Right.
to buy the book and come check out all the other cool stuff going on downtown.
Yeah, downtown turns into a big local artist affair on the
Yeah.
first Thursday of every month, so I'm pretty excited to be a part of that.
Heck yeah.
Releasing a book, hanging out, drinking coffee, enjoying. I think it'll be a great party. I'm pretty excited.
I'll be there as well.
It'll be good to have you there.
Yeah, good coffee.
Our guest, Mr. Jake. Glad to have you here, sir. How the heck are you?
Good evening. Doing well. Very well.
Yeah, this Friday evening, Riverside, California, the Flying Marshall Laboratory.
So is that a combination of the Marshall Laboratory and the Flying Dutchman?
That would be good. Yeah, Flying Marshall, name of my race team for land speed and all the other weird racing I do. So yes, laboratory thereof, aka my dining room.
There it is.
We turned it into an iSound studio. It's working.
It's quaint.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, how's your drive up?
It was good.
Yeah,
I drove up this morning.
I heard you had some law enforcement issues earlier
was
in the
fun.
day,
Yeah.
earlier in the week maybe as well.
Well, that too.
Let's hear about the new ride. We're going to talk about cars for a second, people. Bear with us.
Yeah, okay. I bought a $500 Jap Economy shitbox.
Nice.
Every man needs.
I own a few Hondas. I
needs
get
that.
it.
Little rice burner.
I mean, Honda
Yeah.
motorcycles.
No, I mean I get 37 miles to the gallon in town,
It's like my Goldwing.
driving like an a-hole. So, no, I was headed back from the hardware store, and I'm in the parking lot still, and I see this cruiser pull up right into my rearview mirror.
Nice.
Oh, okay. You mean business. So I proceed on after the little old lady crosses the road in front of me. And
So she's like jaywalking.
well, no,
or was
she's
there-
just leaving the grocery store and going into her car. And so he lit me up. I pull over, and then he proceeds to tell me how very stolen my car looks. And I'm
Nice.
well aware that it
Nice.
is multicolored and from 1987 and
Nice.
all the rattly, noisy things about it. But yeah, it was just it was an eye opener, because it was like, have you ever been arrested? I was like, what? It's like, so he says, have you ever been arrested? I said, not on this continent. And he says, what? And I say, just a joke.
There's a good story.
It's a joke, but it may or may not be true. So then it was, do you have any warrants? And I say, oh, my lawyer took care of that, as far as I know. And then it was, so got any drugs in the car, any weapons? It's like, well, I bought the car for $500 off of a tweaker who needed money, which is the truth, straight up. So then it was, did he leave any meth in the car? I was like, no, I'm really hoping not, So for a moment I was kind of worried. And so yeah, I ended up having a lovely conversation with an officer for maybe 20 minutes while a couple other patrol cars showed up, and they all asked me the same questions, basically.
Looking for holes in your story.
Yeah, they want a new answer that they can single out. But yeah, we had a good time, great conversation, and I just kind of joked my way out of it. So that's the first time I've ever talked my way out of a ticket.
Didn't have to show them your tits or anything.
No, I mean, my tits just aren't big enough.
No,
so that doesn't work.
Not. Yeah.
I'm pretty fit, but they're just not big enough.
Yeah.
They couldn't get over the aesthetic of the car. How crusty it is.
No, my motorcycles look the same. I get pulled over for similar reasons. I get it.
Yeah. So that was Tuesday evening, and this morning, on the way to the metal yard to pick up some metal for my planishing hammer project, I got lit up again, and he was kind of impatient, and we were on the overpass at Nordal in the 78, and so I pulled over. I'm like looking at the traffic go by underneath, and I grabbed my paperwork, and I'm just laughing because I'm like, I've gotten over my fear of cops all of a sudden.
Oh yeah.
It's like I talked my way out of it once. Like, what's the worst that could happen?
Yeah.
What are they gonna give me a ticket for? No front license plate?
Yeah.
Because that's all they
big
have.
Infraction now.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's just an invitation now, and so I invite them to have a conversation, and so I can work on my stand up.
There you go.
I'm trying to turn it into a joke. But yeah, he comes up, and I tell him what's going on, and tell him how I fixed my mirror, and that's why the last officer on Tuesday pulled me over, and that it looked like the car was being stripped as we speak, from a stolen perspective.
Yeah.
But yeah, talked my way out of another one.
Cool.
And let's just see how it goes. Let it ride.
Well done, sir.
Man, I have some terrible cop stories. Really messed up cop stories.
I work with cops every day, so I stories are what they are, you know. They're just human beings trying to do
that'll
a
be
job
another
that they
podcast.
can-
We can
we
do
could-
a whole podcast
we
on
could-
cop stories.
Yeah,
Maybe
we
two.
could.
Yeah, we could.
Maybe a series.
Yeah.
Limited edition.
Maybe an entire season.
Yeah.
A few hundred. Yeah.
I'll have to pull out the filing cabinet on that.
I wouldn't mind starting at the beginning, Jake. Let's
Okay.
talk about how you got into all the good things you do in the Flying Dutchman Company.
All right. The Flying Dutchman Company began in 2012 with a Ferrari restoration job.
Dun dun dun.
Yeah, I was in a different world for a while. I guess it started sooner than that. I didn't just decide to restore a Ferrari one day. Or I was 19. I couldn't figure out what I wanted to do. That's the thing about kids these days. I graduated high school in 2002.
Yeah.
And the pressure to choose a degree, even back then, was huge. So I thought I wanted to be something, and when it came down to signing on the line for a giant amount of debt, I I didn't bite.
Yeah.
And
Me
so I was
neither.
kind of lost.
Yeah.
Everyone else, I felt, had a direction and a clear path. And so I went to the local community college and got kicked out of some classes for talking, that kind of stuff. And it wasn't going anywhere. So I decided to jump into what was interesting to me at the time, which was metalwork. I took a Gene Winfield metal shaping class out in the desert.
Nice.
Yeah, Gene's a saint.
Yeah.
Gene the Machine. So I did that. I got a job at a dune buggy shop in Escondido. I worked for Jeff Davis, Precision Metalcraft. And I did that for about a year. And I stumbled into a job, metal shaper job at Alan Taylor Company. And I walked in the back, and they're restoring a 1937 Bugatti Type 57 supercharged roadster, and I just lost my mind.
Nice.
So I started working there, and it was interesting to me because I'd been going to car shows and all that kind of typical cruise night stuff, and just I saw the same cars every week.
Yeah.
And I could name them. I knew, what the motors looked like.
Yeah.
I knew what the parts looked like in the catalogs. I'd talked to the old boys. I'd figured out, all the stuff. And it just became routine.
Yeah.
It's like the same song over and over on the radio. So I wanted something interesting and different. And a major corrupter in my life, Dave Elsholtz, had built a Model T Roadster from scratch.
Uh-huh.
And so I met him at one of these cruise nights, and his car was like nothing else I had seen. And he turned me on to coach building, and that's what really got me started in metal shaping. That's why I took the metal shaping class from Gene. So I got this job, sweeping floors and making taillight brackets, and eventually working up to little chrome trim pieces. And here, boy, weld this,
all on bodies.
So every day I would weld in the back room at Alan Taylor Company, and I got to perfect my techniques and learn a lot. And I did that for maybe 6 years. My boss decided to move the business to Texas. I said, see you later. And
thanks, but Austin, Texas
yeah.
ain't the place for me. It was Austin, right?
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
he went to Austin. I hear it's a cool place. I've never been.
Yeah.
I decided to jump off cliffs in Norway, so I did that
Hence
instead.
the Flying Dutchman.
Yeah,
name.
I went to Europe for the summer when I quit that job. Well, because the job was intense.
Yeah.
I was so hungry for knowledge. I was working 60, 70 plus hours a week for 7 years in a row. And I went to Europe. I got an apartment in Amsterdam. I met my family roots. Went to Norway, went base jumping. That's part of the nickname.
Jumping off of a perfectly good base.
Yeah. So...
like, there's nothing wrong with it. You can stand there and hang out all day, but you
right.
jump off of it.
You could just be a hiker.
Right.
Or you could just jump off.
Hanging out.
I'd rather do that than the whole rubber band bungee cord thing.
That's
I'd rather
sketch.
jump off completely, not have to
super
listen,
sketchy.
I'm going to
Pull back
tell.
up.
I read books about scuba diving and World War II submarine. I would never do any of that, but boy, I love the stories of it. I mean, I don't mind racing beat up old machines I put together myself across country, but you're not going to catch me jumping off of a perfectly good base. Good on you, sir.
It's a mental exercise, to say the least. So I did that for summer, came back, was looking for an aerospace job, and got offered the Ferrari restoration, and I went from there. I got a building put together. I cleaned up all my tools that I had put in storage. I went and bought more tools and more tools and more tools.
And more tools.
That's the only complaint I have is you're never done buying tools because there's always a new job that you need a new tool for.
How exciting, though.
Well, Yeah, it is fun and exciting and creative.
And expensive.
Very.
That Snap-on truck shows up.
Yeah.
Like, damn it.
I've been lured into that
Dun, 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 dun.
inviting place. It's like a strip club. They have the lights
Oh.
down low.
Oh,
There's
I
air
know.
conditioning. Smells good.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's dangerous. Get out of there.
It's very exciting.
So yeah, I built cars for a few years. Tried a thing in Vegas that bombed completely.
It happens.
Yeah.
Although that was a time we ran the last Stampede, I think,
Yeah.
2015. That was quite the compliment. I know we all woke up and got ready to race, and all of a sudden there you were standing in
That
front of
was
me.
fun.
What a great compliment.
Yeah, I slept in the back of my car in the back parking lot of an IHOP
Right.
in Barstow.
Right, Barstow,
Yeah.
right. That was
Yeah,
killer.
that's
You just
glamour.
hopped down from Vegas just to watch the start of the race.
Right next to the thermometer, huh?
Yeah. Well, no, that's big.
Oh, that's Baker.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's Baker.
Yeah,
I
this
always
was
get that
Barstow.
confused.
The other desert town
You're
of Barstow.
right. Baker,
So that
Barstow.
was really fun to watch you guys all take off.
Well, we could talk about that. Tell us about your feeling on it. Ever seen such crazy mayhem?
Well, I want to do it. You know,
You're ready?
Base jumping's kind of cool, but
Yeah.
the whole cross country race, I kind of have a similar ambition, except instead of left to right, I'd like to go from bottom to top. I'd like to do from TJ to Vancouver Island. Yeah, I bought a domain name, Bandit 1000.
Nice.
Maybe it'll be something someday. I don't know.
It's a good idea. Well, there's
Yeah.
all sorts of exciting. I'm looking at the TAT right now myself, the Trans-American Trail, getting across country mostly off-road. I figure my Honda Rebel's up for it. So,
Okay.
and there's been all sorts of exciting. Well, even the new Cannonball coming out in a year and a half. F-Bomb just put his, I'm sorry, my good friend and fellow racer, my best friend, F-Bomb just put his name in the hat to do the cross-country Cannonball race, which is all motorcycles that are between 80 and 100, 120 years old. And they're going to start at the top in Maine and then come all the way down to the bottom of Texas, Brownsville, Texas, I think.
Very cool.
Yeah, so it's all. There's so many ways you can do it. The Stampede itself just happened to go left to right, but
Yeah.
there's a lot more exciting ways to do it and have a good time on the open road. Good for you.
Yeah, that was always the ambition after meeting Dave Eltholtz, the guy with that crazy Model T he built from scratch.
Yeah.
Because I say from scratch, and I mean from scratch. Like
Right,
he built the door
totally.
latches,
Right.
the door hinges, the radiator. He built everything. The body is all
It's
his.
amazing.
And he drives that thing like no one else. He drives
Right.
like a Stampeder.
Right.
So he's got, I don't know, 80,000 miles on that thing.
Jeez Louise.
It's got really tall gears. It's got
Yeah.
a 3-speed manual transmission, and he just cruises 80
Just
or
loving
90.
it. That's
And
killer.
he's getting up there in age now, so he's not doing his thing as hard. But the things and the stories he's told me about, it's always been an ambition to do the long distance thing.
Yeah.
You know, I drove my 3 Series BMW to Canada, and it was like super easy.
Yeah.
And I've always wanted to do something similar on a bike.
Well, you got that nice BMW scoot you're building on right now.
We're working on that. We're always working on that.
That thing's exciting. That thing's so
Yeah.
exciting.
Yeah, it's 84 R100 RS.
Yeah.
Stretch the swing arm. I'm putting a turbo on it. Made a new subframe for it. Put some dirt bike bars on it.
Monoshock.
Yeah.
Rear end.
So it was dual shock, but I got a modern Ducati Diavel rear shock, and I put that on there when I stretch the swing arm.
I'm just such a fan of all the good work you do, Jake.
Thank
I
you.
know I've just gotten a few pieces myself from you, but it's always exciting to see what you're doing, which is great on your Instagram.
I was
your
just
stories.
going to mention that. Yeah, I'm looking at some of the pictures on your Instagram, which, by the way, if you're
Nuts.
listening to the podcast, and you can, look at the Instagram at the same time. It's the Flying Dutchman Co. All one word, the Flying Dutchman Co. And what I'm looking at right now is something I guess you lovingly call the bro coma, but it doesn't look
Oh.
anything like a Tacoma.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
It was a Tacoma.
It was born a Tacoma.
Yeah, I was born in Tacoma. It's just a first gen single cab 2-wheel drive Tacoma, and it was rolled, and I didn't want to fix it. I wanted to make something new, make something fresh. And as far as the metal work goes, what I'm what I guess what I'm most interested in now is more of original works. I started out in auto restoration, and
Yeah.
the trick about auto restoration is to be a ghost.
Yeah.
It's, if you do a fantastic job, no one knows you were there. So it's thankless in that regard. But as far as original works, I'd like to have some kind of impact and leave something behind. Something that says that it was me. When you hear AC/DC on the radio, you know who it is.
Yeah, you do.
That signature.
When you see the Mona Lisa, you know who painted it. So when you see the Brocoma or any of the other crazy aluminum things that I have in the queue, I want you to know it's me. The Brocoma's got this really industrial, stamped, raw aesthetic. And I use a variety of tools and techniques to do that. But that's my thing I'm working on right now. It's not bead rolled. It's pressed. It's kind of stamped.
Hashtag Jake Make.
That too. Yeah.
Been doing some classes lately as well.
Yeah. This year I started up. I've got a welding class and then 2 tiers of metal shaping classes.
Wow.
Got an intro to TIG and an intro metal shaping 5-hour class.
What is TIG?
Tungsten inert gas.
I
It's
would
like-
never guess that.
Yeah.
Jesus.
It's aerospace welding basically.
Yeah.
Like NASA
Well,
stuff.
Kind of. Yeah. I mean, you can weld all sorts of stuff with it. It's the most versatile. That's why I wanted to teach it.
Yeah, I got a nice 220 Miller TIG welder in my garage I stole from my dad a few
There you
years
go.
ago. Although I didn't pay for it.
Yeah?
I just kind of,
Hence the stolen?
Yeah, I was like, hey, can I borrow this? And my dad, may he ride in peace.
Yeah.
I think you got you got his Bridgeport, don't
I do
you?
have the Bridgeport.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
pretty exciting. It was nice.
Luckily, I paid it off in time.
You paid. He was a big fan of yours. I mean, I hope you know he liked to chat about the cool things you were doing, and I know you all had a few good conversations. My dad was big on making thermoforming machines, programming them, engineering them, and him being the older guy that he was always happy to tell us young guys what we were doing wrong.
Yeah.
That was always very
Yeah.
exciting. But yeah, we have a saying in our family: if your name is Bob Marshall and your name is Flying Dutchman Jake, your credit's good with us. So,
There you go.
yeah, that was a really good one, man. I'm glad you got to hang out with him
Yeah.
a few weeks
it was
before
good.
it passed. I think we were out land speed racing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw him at El Mirage, and
That's right.
I put the money in his hand. He was like,
Cool.
"For me?" It's like, "Yeah, I owe you. Remember?"
Well, that was a good one too. I remember you handed me a few dollars, and I called my dad. He's like, "Oh, yeah, well, just keep it. I think I owe you a few dollars."
Oh, there it
anyway."
is.
Yeah, there was
Yeah.
always. My dad and I were always real good at throwing money between each other, but regardless, he was a big fan of yours. So we can do a whole series on my pops in the future too, right up there with. But I was a big fan of the man, so
Yeah.
Yeah.
regardless. Jake, good to have you here.
Thank
So
you.
what's the future hold?
Right now, the focus is less restoration, more original works. Got a little side hustle with the classes. That's fun. I meet
Yeah.
new people. The fun thing about that, it's like the motorcycle shows.
Right.
When you go to a motorcycle show, it's the most interesting and most interested people.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's who shows up.
Right.
That's who shows up that's who shows up to the classes. They're super interested. They're super engaged, and they come from everywhere. I had a guy show up last week from New York.
Holy heck.
Yeah, he didn't just come out for my class, but he worked it into his time out here.
That's great.
But yeah, I'm building up the shop to accommodate more
Oh, it looks glorious.
places
Yeah, it looks
for
glorious. Your
people to
remodel.
do work.
Yeah.
So they can have like a real metal shaping class.
Down in San Marcos. Glorious remodel job you did there.
Thank you. Yeah, I've been planning for 2019 since February of 2018.
That's bitchin'.
It's been a lot of work.
That's so bitchin'.
You know, you mentioned doing your own work right now and doing some original stuff. I'm looking at some pictures on your Instagram, and I see this awesome monster truck looking thing with a Mercedes emblem on it.
Yeah.
Now my question is this. Okay, it looks awesome. I want to ride in it, and it does look like a Mercedes monster truck. But where's the line? Because if you're working on original stuff and you've got something with the Mercedes emblem on it, when does it become just an original Dutchman, and when is it a Mercedes that you put some Dutchman stuff into?
The old Unimog.
I don't know. Yeah, it's a 63 404 Unimog, Swiss troop carrier.
That's a smaller one of the
Swiss Troop
Unimogs,
Yeah,
right?
it's got power brakes for all the extra weight. It had a big cargo cover in the back for the guys. It had bench seats.
And I think originally the Unimogs were really used in the farming communities in Europe.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Post-war,
Potato.
Germany was all about agriculture.
Exactly.
That's what they were
That's where
allowed
I
to do.
recognize it.
Right. And they even had like PTOs hanging off of them. So you
Right.
could plug
This
in
one
implements.
does have
Right.
a PTO on it.
I've seen one other one. Now that I look at it, I saw people doing wine tours with those things.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
No, down where I'm at, San Marcos Escondido area, there are beer tours with Unimogs and Pinskowers running around.
That's cool.
Yeah, so you'll see them running about.
I had sex on one once in Austin, Texas. That's another story.
I thought you were talking about some other kind of Unimog having sex.
No. Yeah, it was great. I'm a big fan of Unimogs.
Mogs are fun. Mogs
Yeah.
are fun.
Well done.
Yeah, I don't know when it becomes a that's kind of the idea for the Brocoma thing, is that whole stamped metal aesthetic product thing. Trying to produce a package that goes with that truck. There's like this intermediate area between like a side-by-side Razor dune buggy thing
Right.
and a Raptor.
Right.
So,
Exactly.
You know, they're all toys. So this 30 grand to 80 grand range, I think the Brocoma could fit in there.
Agreed.
And it could be totally cleaned up to made into this epic adventure vehicle.
Oh, I agree.
I'm gonna put
It's a
I'm
wonderful
gonna use
base.
a rooftop tent as the roof
Cool.
for this
cool.
one. This won't be a truck. It'll be more like an old school Bronco or a Landy.
Yeah.
And so it won't have a separate bed. You'll be able to hop out of the seat and get into the camper. You know, if it's snowing outside or whatever. So yeah, that's if the Flying Dutchman company was ever like Icon 4x4 or Hennessy,
Yeah.
or you know, Shelby,
Yeah.
like that's when it would become.
Yeah. Like I saw a picture of this one car that I couldn't even identify what originally it was. It was a Frankenstein-looking thing with your metal panel doors that you've been talking about, and that looks awesome. Who is your primary customer? Who would get that? Like, who's listening right now that you can say, "Hey, I'm gonna do this for you, and it's gonna be the best damn." You know,
Done for you vehicle.
exactly. Like, who is listening right now that is going to DM you on your Instagram at the Flying Dutchman Co. and tell you, make me this product?
I'd say the early middle-aged adventurist.
The
Yeah.
man looking for adventure.
What kind
or
of
woman.
What kind of car would he already have that you would like dream of, like just putting some of your work into your signature work? What car would you love to work on?
A Prius. A Prius. It's a Prius.
That's
I know it's a Prius.
Yeah.
Work on it,
Well,
push
the
it off the cliff
CRX
first.
is the
Yeah,
precursor to the
that's
Prius.
right. You're absolutely right.
Yeah. No. I thought about doing like carbon fiber bodies for Teslas.
Sure.
Thought that would be fun
I
to
saw
make a
Matt
2-door
Tesla
version.
the other day. That looked
Yeah.
cool. So you do
Well,
what kind of thing would you do with that?
It's like a skateboard platform.
Oh,
you know?
okay.
Motor in the front, in between the axles. Motor in the rear, between the axles.
And the batteries?
Batteries are
Oh, okay.
along the floor. So it's like a Type 1 VW, like
Right,
a bug.
right.
So the body comes off, and there's a pan. So I always thought it would be neat to pull the body off and make my own carbon fiber body.
Whoa.
But I'm pushing the whole aluminum aesthetic right now. So
Yeah.
I think
Good
I'm
on
just
ya.
going to run with that.
Gorgeous.
The Toyota stuff, there's so much brand loyalty and engineering
Amen.
that's already there that I can work from. So I'm going to keep pushing in that direction.
Yeah, and I never
Good
hear
for
about
you.
anybody modifying Toyota trucks or Toyota like vehicles like that. You know, they usually go for the old stuff. And what I see that you've done with the Brocoma, it's something else. I can't wait to see more of those, and I hope it catches on. I hope you get more people with
I hope
that
so.
that aesthetic. You know.
Yeah, the whole idea behind that was trying to get more away from the one-off, crazy, super intricate custom stuff, but still have it be a quality item, handmade, handcrafted, something that I could reproduce. You know, when I work on Johann's Lotus 7,
Right,
you know, I do
right.
the one thing the one time for the one guy.
Right, that's a
And
hard
then we
one.
move on, and I usually have to split the profit between me fucking up
Right,
and buying new tools.
right.
So it's like I'm getting a third of what I should be getting,
Sure.
and I'm already undercharging because
Yeah.
he could get it, you know, less somewhere else.
No, I agree. I've seen your
And
work and
that's
your numbers.
the kind of games some of these auto restore guys play. That's mostly why I'm not interested in it anymore.
It'll be good to see what you do in the future with motorcycles as well. I'm really
Yeah.
excited about that.
Yeah, it's you know,
And
it's
your
wide
riding
open.
adventures.
This year is all about the classes, the
Right.
bomber seats. The bomber seats were like the precursor to the Brocoma.
Right.
I had this Tacoma that was just this rolled, beat up, ugly truck, and I made this bomber seat just because I wanted one.
Right.
I threw it in there to check the ergonomics. So I drove the truck for several thousand miles to test it out.
Ah.
Then I realized it would be better as a, well, not better, but I could sell more of them
Right. The
as
seats.
an office chair,
Yeah.
like a restoration hardware looking, you know, it would
Oh, they're
appeal to a lot of
glorious.
people. I could sell them to pilots,
Yeah.
World War II buffs, like not just hot rodders that want a bomber seat for their car.
Expand the market.
Right,
It'd look terrible on a motorcycle,
It
but
would.
they're awesome for everything else.
exactly. It might look good in a sidecar.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true. I'll have to do the sidecar thing one day. That's one thing I have not done yet.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty exciting. Jake, good to have you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks
Jake,
for all
good
your
meeting you.
support.
Yeah.
Thanks for all your sponsorship. Thanks
course.
for all your inspiration. I'm not going to lie. I might have signed a copy of one of my rough drafts for the paperback and given to Jake. He's just that good of a friend. So he's got a number 2 proof.
That's legit.
I'm excited.
That thing will be worth a lot of money someday. Right now,
Thanks for taking my signature on it, too. It's always good
Oh,
to sign
come
a
on
book. Always good to sign a book. Don't forget, we got a Patreon account. American Roadrunner, the podcast, brought to you by Ride 1K in a Day. Check them out online. The Flying Dutchman Co. Check them out online. And don't forget Jake with the Flying Dutchman Company. He is on Instagram, of course, but he also has one heck of a YouTube. So feel free to check it out and enjoy. Remember all our links. You can find us on just about anywhere. Hope you enjoy the music, intro and exit. This is good stuff brought to you by my friend Ty Zamora and the band Meek.